I promise you, it will only take you 5 minutes to learn the Cypher system, so grab your favorite drink and listen up. For the Cypher system, you only need 3 random rolling generators. The D20 for any action your character takes in the game or any action taken against your character in the game. The D6 for when you want to heal up your character during a short rest or a long rest. And the D100 to determine random stuff on random rolling tables, like determining which Cypher or magic item you're about to get. In the Cypher system, the Game Master does not roll any die. It is the players that roll all of the dice. And if you want to do a task as a player character, like jumping over a spike pit, the Game Master will give you a difficulty between 0 and 10. 0 being an automatic success, for example, the pit is only 10 centimeters wide and you know it is there, or a 10, which is damn near impossible. You multiply the difficulty, which is a number between 0 and 10, by 3, and that is a number you need to hit on your D20 in order to succeed. Now, in contrary to other tabletop RPGs, you do not add any modifiers to your roll. You're always rolling straight up, but you use your powers and abilities to lower the difficulty of the roll. For example, you want to jump over a spike pit and the Game Master tells you it is a difficulty 5 action, which is a 15 to hit in order to jump over the spiked pit. But you have an ability called Jump, which eases the roll by 1 level. So the difficulty 5 now becomes a difficulty 4, and then you spend a level of effort, for example, going into that a bit later, and you ease it with 1 more point, and now the difficulty is only a 3. 3 times 3 is a 9. Now you only need to roll a 9 on your D20 in order to jump over the spike pit. The same goes for combat. If you ever want to attack an NPC or a monster, please don't. If your character ever wants to hit a creature or NPC, all you do is roll a D20 and compare the number on the D20 to the number you need to hit in order to hit the creature. And again, you can use your powers and abilities to lower the difficulty to make it easier for you to hit the creature. Now, if a creature or NPC ever wants to attack you, you as a player roll a defense roll. Again, the Game Master never rolls, so you have to roll a defense roll against the number that the creature or the Game Master sets. And again, you can use your powers and abilities to lower that roll. Your character has 3 main ability stats, which are Might, Speed, and Intellect. Might determines how strong you are, how long you can hold your breath. Speed kind of determines how quick you are to act, but also how well you are at keeping your balance on, for example, a ship that is in a thunderstorm. Intellect kind of combines your intelligence, wisdom, and charisma, and is more used for spell casting and social encounters. Now, since there's only 3 of these ability scores, they only represent your character on a very basic level. It is actually your character's sentence, your skills, and your abilities that determine who you are. Another use of these ability scores is taking damage. Your character does not have a hit point pool. Instead, you take damage to your might, to your speed, and to your intellect in that order. Most attacks deal damage to your might pool. Ranged attacks from bows and arrows, from guns, melee attacks from swords and axes or lightsabers. There are some specific things that do damage to your speed, and there are spells and spellcasting-like effects that do damage to your intellect pool. Now, if you take enough damage from your might pool and you bring it down to 0, you move 1 step down the damage track and you become impaired, giving you some negative effects. The next damage you take goes from your speed pool, if not otherwise stated. If that goes down to 0, you are debilitated. And if you then lose enough points from your intellect pool to bring that to 0, you dead. A recovery roll heals you for 1d6 plus your tier, which is basically your level every time you do a recovery roll. And every time you want to do one in a day, the first time it takes you 1 action, the second time it takes you 10 minutes, the third time it takes you an hour, and the fourth time it takes you 10 hours. In order to ease the difficulty of a roll, you can spend something called effort. A level of effort is spent by spending 3 points from a ability score pool. For example, if you have a difficulty 5 task, for example, hitting a creature, then you want to bring it down to a 4, you can spend 3 points of your might pool in order to swing your sword with a little bit more effort, easing the difficulty of the roll from 5 to 4, which means you only need to roll a 12 in order to hit. Spending 3 points points from your ability score pool lowers the difficulty, eases the difficulty by 1 step from 5 all the way down to 4. If you want to lower it even more, say to a 3, you can spend more levels of effort. And every time you spend a level of effort beyond the first level, it only costs you 2 points of the pool. Your effort level dictates how many levels of effort you can spend on one roll. Other ways of easing the difficulty of a task is having the right specializations and having the right skills. In a skill, you can be trained, you can be specialized, or have an inability. If you are trained in a skill, it eases the difficulty of all related tasks, for example, climbing tasks for the climbing skill, by 1 level. If you have a specialization in the same climbing skill, it eases the difficulty by 2 levels. And if you have an inability in it, it actually hinders the difficulty by 1 level. Which means it goes up, which you won't. On your character sheet, there's also something called edge, which lowers the spending cost of all pool spending activities you do. For example, if you have a spell that costs you 2 intellect points in order to cast it and you have 1 edge, it only costs you 1 intellect point to cast, which basically doubles the amount of castings you can do in a day. But if your edge is 2, casting the spell is free and it basically becomes a cantrip. And that is it. You know the basics. You can sit down and enjoy a game of the Cypher system in a fantasy setting, in a sci-fi setting, somewhere in between. I don't know, if you want to do witches in London, modern London, whatever, you can play it. All you need to do is roll a character and know about character advancement if you want to level up. But I will be doing separate videos for that. Basically, all you need to do is fill in a character sentence with a descriptor, a type, and a focus, which determine the powers and the skills your character has. There is much more to go into with this system, and if you want to like really min-max it and power play it, it has a lot of potential for that. But now you can just sit down and play. There's one more thing I want to add. Spend your XP. XP is something you can spend in the Cypher system. You need to spend XP in order to advance in the way you want to advance as a character. Holding on to your XP for too long is generally not that good of an idea. Spend it.